The homeless girl's dirty hands shook as she signed the marriage papers. 24-year-old billionaire Marcus Chen watched in disbelief as his life changed forever with one signature. Just 30 minutes ago, this woman named Emma had been begging for coins outside his office building. Now she was his wife. Before we begin the story, comment below where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. Please subscribe to my channel for more sweet videos like this. Let the story continue. What have I done? Marcus whispered, staring at the marriage certificate that would either save him or destroy him. Emma looked up at him with scared brown eyes. Did we really just get married? She asked, her voice barely louder than a whisper. Before Marcus could answer, his phone exploded with angry buzzing. His father's name appeared on the screen repeatedly. In exactly 2 hours, Marcus was supposed to marry Victoria Blackwood, the cruel daughter of his father's business partner. But instead, he had just married a stranger from the streets. The small courthouse clerk looked confused as he watched the strangest wedding he had ever seen. The groom wore a $1,000 suit, while the bride wore torn jeans and a dirty hoodie that smelled like rain. "Sir, your phone is very loud," the clerk said nervously. Marcus's hands trembled as he turned off his phone. When his father found out what he had done, there would be no going back. But as he looked at Emma's frightened face, he realized something that scared him even more than his father's anger. He was starting to care about this homeless girl he barely knew. But how did a millionaire end up marrying a stranger in a desperate attempt to escape his own family? The answer began 3 days earlier, when Marcus made a discovery that shattered his perfect world. 3 days earlier, the prison of gold. Marcus Chen stared out the window of his corner office, watching tiny people walk like ants on the street 40 floors below. At 24, he was already worth $50 million and ran 3 companies. Everyone called him a genius. Everyone said he was lucky. But Marcus felt like a prisoner in a golden cage. His assistant knocked on the door. "Mr. Chen, your father wants to see you in the conference room. He says it's urgent." Marcus's stomach dropped. When his father said, "urgent," it usually meant bad news for Marcus. He straightened his tie and walked down the hallway, his expensive shoes clicking on the marble floor. The conference room was filled with serious-looking adults in dark suits. At the head of the long table sat Marcus's father, Mr. Chen, looking like a king on his throne. Next to him was Mr. Blackwood, a mean-looking man with cold gray eyes. And beside Mr. Blackwood sat his daughter, Victoria. Victoria was beautiful in the way that expensive things are beautiful, perfect, but cold. She had long blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and wore a dress that probably cost more than most people made in a month. But Marcus had known her since they were children, and he knew the real Victoria. She was cruel to anyone she thought was beneath her, which was almost everyone. "Sit down, son," Mr. Chen said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Marcus sat across from Victoria, who gave him a smile that made his skin crawl. She looked at him like he was a prize she had already won. "Marcus," his father began, "we have wonderful news. The Blackwood family has agreed to unite our companies through marriage. You and Victoria will be married this Saturday." The words hit Marcus like a truck. "This Saturday? That's 3 days from now." "Yes, Mr." Blackwood said in his gravelly voice. "We've already planned everything. The wedding will be at the Grand Cathedral downtown. 500 guests. The best of everything." Marcus felt like he couldn't breathe. "But we haven't even talked about this. You can't just decide my life for me." Victoria laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Oh, Marcus, don't be so dramatic. We're perfect for each other. We're both rich, both beautiful, both important. What else matters?" "Love," Marcus said desperately. "What about love?" The entire room went silent. Then Mr. Chen started laughing, and soon all the adults were laughing except Marcus. "Love is for poor people, son," his father said, wiping tears from his eyes. "Rich people marry for business, always have, always will. This marriage will make both our families twice as wealthy." Marcus looked around the room at all these powerful adults who were deciding his fate like he wasn't even there. What if I say no? The laughter stopped instantly. Mr. Chen's face turned dark and scary. Then you lose everything, he said quietly, which was somehow more frightening than if he had yelled. Your job, your money, your companies, your trust fund, everything. You'll be cut off from the family completely. And I'll make sure no one in this city ever hires you for anything. Victoria leaned forward with a nasty smile. Face it, Marcus. You need me. Without your daddy's money, you're nothing. Marcus felt trapped like an animal in a cage. He had worked hard to build his success, but it was all connected to his father's business empire. Without that connection, he would lose everything he had spent his life building. I need time to think, Marcus said, standing up quickly. You have until Saturday, Mr. Chen said coldly. 3 days. Don't disappoint me, son. Marcus rushed out of the conference room, his heart pounding like a drum. In the elevator, he looked at his reflection in the shiny walls. He saw a young man in an expensive suit who looked successful and confident. But inside, he felt like a scared little boy with no control over his own life. That night, Marcus couldn't eat dinner. He sat in his huge apartment, looking out at the city lights, feeling more alone than ever. His whole life had been planned by other people. Where he went to school, what he studied, what job he took, and now who he would marry. He felt like a puppet, dancing on strings controlled by his father. He thought about Victoria and felt sick. She was cruel and selfish. Last year, he had seen her yell at a waitress until the poor woman cried, just because Victoria's soup was too cold. Another time, she had laughed when a homeless man slipped and fell in the rain right in front of her car. I can't marry her, Marcus said out loud to his empty apartment. I'd rather be poor than spend my life with someone so heartless. But even as he said it, Marcus wasn't sure he meant it. He had been rich his whole life. He had never been hungry, never been cold, never worried about having a place to sleep. Could he really give all that up? The next morning, Marcus woke up with a terrible idea. What if he could find a way to escape the arranged marriage without losing everything? It would have to be something his father couldn't undo, something that would make the marriage to Victoria impossible. As he got dressed, a crazy plan began forming in his mind. It was dangerous and probably stupid, but it might be his only chance at freedom. Instead of going straight to his office, Marcus decided to walk through the city. He needed to clear his head and think about his plan. He put on simple clothes, instead of his usual expensive suits, hoping no one would recognize him. As he walked through downtown, Marcus saw a part of the city he usually ignored. Homeless people were sitting on corners, holding signs, asking for help. Some families looked tired and worried, probably struggling to pay their bills. There were children whose clothes were old and patched but clean. Marcus realized that in his 24 years of life, he had never really seen poor people as real people. They had just been background scenery in his rich world. But now, looking at them closely, he saw that they were just like him. They laughed, they cried, they worried, they hoped. They were human beings whose lives mattered. That's when he saw her. Emma was sitting on the sidewalk next to a busy coffee shop. She looked about 22 or 23, with long brown hair that needed washing and clothes that had seen better days. But there was something special about her face. Even though she looked tired and sad, her eyes were kind and gentle. Marcus watched as people walked by her like she was invisible. Some even stepped around her with disgusted expressions, as if being poor was something contagious. But then Marcus saw something that made his heart skip. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, ran up to Emma and dropped a candy bar into her cup. My mom packed me 2 lunches today, the little girl said with a big smile. You can have one. Emma's whole face lit up with joy. Oh, sweetie, that's so kind of you. But you should keep both lunches. You're a growing girl. The little girl shook her head stubbornly. My mom always says we should share with people who need help. Besides, peanut butter sandwiches taste better when you share them. Emma's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. Thank you, little angel. What's your name? I'm Sophie, the girl said proudly. What's yours? I'm Emma. It's very nice to meet you, Sophie. The little girl's mother appeared and gently led Sophie away, but not before smiling kindly at Emma and dropping a $5 bill into her cup. Marcus was amazed. This homeless woman, who had almost nothing, had tried to give food back to a child who was trying to help her. In Marcus's world, people only thought about getting more for themselves. But Emma's first thought was to make sure a little girl had enough to eat. Marcus's crazy plan suddenly became crystal clear. He walked over to Emma, his heart beating fast with nervousness. Excuse me, he said politely. Emma looked up at him with surprise. Most people pretended she didn't exist, so she wasn't used to anyone talking to her. Are you talking to me? She asked, looking around to see if there was someone else nearby. Yes, Marcus said, sitting down on the sidewalk next to her. My name is Marcus. What's yours? Emma stared at him like he might be dangerous. I'm Emma, she said carefully. Are you okay? Most people don't sit on dirty sidewalks in nice clothes. Marcus looked down at his outfit. Even his simple clothes probably cost more than Emma had seen in months. I'm fine, he said with a gentle smile. I just wanted to talk to you. I saw what happened with the little girl, and I thought you seemed like a really kind person. Emma's face turned red with embarrassment. I'm nobody special, just someone who's had some bad luck. I don't think you're nobody, Marcus said firmly. I think you're somebody very special. And I have a crazy question to ask you. Emma tilted her head like a curious bird. What kind of question? Marcus took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would change both their lives forever. Emma, he said, looking directly into her kind brown eyes. I know this is going to sound absolutely insane, but I need your help. I need you to marry me. Emma's mouth dropped open so wide that Marcus thought she might faint. She looked around again, sure that someone was playing a mean joke on her. Marry you? She whispered. Are you serious? I know it sounds crazy, Marcus said quickly, but I'm in terrible trouble, and you're the only person who can help me. If you say yes, I promise I'll take care of you forever. You'll never have to sleep on the street again. You'll have food, clothes, a warm place to live, and anything you need. Emma stared at him for a long moment. She was trying to figure out if he was telling the truth or if he was some kind of crazy person. I don't understand, she said slowly. You look rich and important. Why would you want to marry someone like me? I don't have anything to offer you. You have something more valuable than money, Marcus said. You have a good heart, and right now, that's exactly what I need. Emma looked down at her dirty hands, then back at Marcus's sincere face. What kind of trouble are you in? Marcus told her about his father's plan to force him into marriage with Victoria. He explained how he would lose everything if he refused, but how he couldn't bear to spend his life with someone so cruel. So you see, Marcus finished, if I'm already married to you, I can't marry Victoria. It would save me from a lifetime of misery. Emma was quiet for a long time, thinking. Finally, she looked up at him with worried eyes. What happens to me after you don't need my help anymore? She asked. When your family problems are solved, what happens to the homeless girl who helped you? Marcus realized he hadn't thought about that part of his plan. He had been so focused on escaping his father's control that he hadn't considered Emma's future. I don't know, he admitted, but I promise you this. Whatever happens, I will never leave you homeless again. Whatever we figure out, you'll be safe and taken care of. Emma studied his face, looking for signs that he was lying. But all she saw was honesty and desperation. You're really scared of this arranged marriage, aren't you? She asked. Terrified, Marcus admitted. The woman they want me to marry is cruel and heartless. I've seen her be mean to people just because they have less money than she does. I can't spend my life with someone like that. Emma nodded slowly. She had met plenty of cruel rich people during her time on the streets, People who looked at her like she was garbage, who acted like poor people weren't even human. "If I help you," she said carefully, "and we really get married, what would that mean? Would we have to? Would you expect me to?" "No," Marcus said quickly, understanding her fear. "It would be just on paper. Just to stop the arranged marriage. You would have your own room, your own space, your own life. I would never force you to do anything you didn't want to do." Emma closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She had been living on the streets for almost 2 years, ever since she aged out of the foster care system at 18. Every day was a struggle to find food and a safe place to sleep. Winter was coming, and she wasn't sure she could survive another cold season outside. But more than that, something about Marcus seemed different from other rich people she had met. He had sat down on the dirty sidewalk next to her. He had talked to her like she was a real person, not just a problem to be ignored. And when he looked at her, she didn't see disgust or pity in his eyes. She saw respect. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'll help you." Marcus felt a wave of relief wash over him. "Really? You'll do it?" Emma nodded. "But I have one condition. After we're married and your family problems are solved, you have to help me find a real job so I can take care of myself. I don't want to depend on anyone forever. I want to earn my own way." Marcus smiled, and for the first time in days, it was a real smile. "Deal. But Emma, there's something else you need to know. When my father finds out what we've done, he's going to be furious. He might try to hurt you or scare you. Are you sure you're brave enough for that?" Emma looked at him with strength in her eyes that surprised him. "Marcus, I've been living on the streets for 2 years. I've dealt with angry drunks, dangerous criminals, and police who treat homeless people like criminals. I've been hungry, cold, scared, and alone. But I've survived it all. I think I can handle one angry rich man." Marcus felt something strange happen in his chest. For a moment, he forgot all about his escape plan. He forgot about his father, and Victoria, and the business empire. All he could think about was how brave and strong this woman was, and how wrong it was that someone so good had been forced to live on the streets. "We should do this today," Marcus said. "Right now, my father is already getting suspicious about my behavior. If we wait, he might figure out what I'm planning." Emma nodded, even though her heart was pounding with fear. "What do we need to do?" "First, we need to get you some clean clothes," Marcus said. "Then we need to find someone who can marry us quickly and quietly." They spent the next few hours preparing for the most unusual wedding in history. Marcus took Emma to a department store and bought her a simple, yet nice dress. Nothing too fancy that would raise his father's suspicions later, but clean and pretty enough for a wedding. While Emma changed clothes, Marcus made phone calls to find someone who could perform a quick wedding ceremony. Most places wanted weeks of advance notice, but he finally found a courthouse that could do it the same day. When Emma came out of the dressing room, Marcus was amazed. Even in simple clothes, she looked beautiful. But more than that, she looked dignified. She had washed her hair and face, and the kindness in her eyes shone even brighter. "You look perfect," Marcus said, and he meant it. Emma blushed, something she hadn't done in years. "I still can't believe this is really happening." "Neither can I," Marcus admitted. "But sometimes the craziest plans are the only ones that work." As they walked to the courthouse, Marcus's phone started buzzing with calls from his father. Marcus ignored them, knowing that each missed call was making his father more suspicious and angry. "There's no going back after this," Marcus said as they stood outside the courthouse. Emma reached over and took his hand. Her fingers were soft and warm now that they were clean. "I'm ready," she said. "Are you?" Marcus looked at this brave woman who was willing to help a stranger escape from a terrible situation. He realized that in the past few hours, he had learned more about real courage and kindness than he had in his entire privileged life. "I'm ready," he said. And that's how they ended up standing in front of the courthouse clerk, signing papers that would change both their lives forever. As Emma wrote her name on the marriage certificate, Marcus realized that his plan had worked. He was now legally married, which made the arranged marriage to Victoria impossible. But as he watched Emma sign her new name, Emma Chen, Marcus felt something he hadn't expected. Instead of just relief at escaping his father's control, he felt protective of this kind, brave woman who had trusted him enough to help. The clerk handed them their marriage certificate. "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Chen," he said with a confused smile. Emma stared at the paper like she couldn't believe it was real. "Are we really married now?" "We really are," Marcus said. Just then, Marcus's phone exploded with angry buzzing. His father's name appeared on the screen repeatedly. Marcus knew that Mr. Chen had probably figured out that something was wrong. "He knows," Marcus said, his voice tight with worry. Emma looked at the phone, then at Marcus's scared face. "What do we do now?" Before Marcus could answer, his phone rang with a call from an unknown number. Marcus answered it hesitantly. "Marcus!" His father's voice roared through the phone so loudly that Emma could hear it. "Where are you? What have you done?" Marcus's hands started shaking. "Dad, I can explain." "You can explain at home, right now. I'm sending security to find you. And when they do, you're going to fix whatever mess you've created." The phone went dead. Marcus looked at Emma with panic in his eyes. "We have to run," he said. "Now. My father's sending people to find us." Emma grabbed his hand. "Where can we go?" Marcus thought quickly. His father knew about his apartment, his office, and his usual hangout spots. But there was one place his father would never think to look. "I know somewhere safe," Marcus said. "But Emma, once we go there, everything changes. My father will know we're serious about this. There won't be any going back." Emma squeezed his hand tighter. "I trust you, Marcus. Lead the way." As they ran out of the courthouse, Marcus realized that his simple plan to escape an arranged marriage had become something much more complicated. He was now responsible for Emma's safety and future. And somewhere deep in his heart, he was starting to feel something for this homeless girl that he had never felt for anyone before. But they didn't have time to think about feelings now. They had to disappear before Marcus's father found them. The real adventure was just beginning, and neither of them had any idea how dangerous or how life-changing it was about to become. Marcus and Emma ran through the busy city streets, holding hands like their lives depended on it. Behind them, Marcus could hear the sound of car engines getting closer. His father had found them faster than he expected. "This way." Marcus pulled Emma into a narrow alley between two tall buildings. They pressed themselves against the brick wall, breathing hard and trying to stay quiet. A black car with tinted windows drove slowly past the alley entrance. Through the windshield, Marcus could see one of his father's security guards scanning the sidewalk with cold, searching eyes. Emma's heart was beating so fast she thought it might explode. "Is this really happening?" she whispered. "Are we really hiding from your family like criminals?" Marcus looked at her scared face and felt terrible guilt wash over him. Just this morning, Emma's biggest worry was finding enough food for the day. Now she was running from dangerous men because she had tried to help him. "I'm so sorry," he whispered back. "I never meant for you to be in danger like this." Emma surprised him by squeezing his hand tighter. "I chose to help you, Marcus. We're in this together now." The black car disappeared around the corner, but Marcus knew they weren't safe yet. His father had money and power, which meant he had people everywhere looking for them. "We need to get out of the city," Marcus said. "Somewhere my father can't find us." "But where?" Emma asked. "And how? Don't you think your father is watching your bank accounts? If you use your credit cards, he'll know exactly where you are." Marcus stared at her in amazement. Emma was right. His father controlled most of his money through the family business. If he tried to buy plane tickets or rent a car, his father would know immediately. "You're really smart," Marcus said with admiration. "How did you think of that?" Emma gave him a sad smile. "When you're homeless, you learn to think like people are always trying to catch you, because they usually are." Suddenly, Marcus heard footsteps at the end of the alley. Heavy boots walking slowly, like someone was searching for something. Or someone. "Sir," I think I saw them go this way, a deep voice said. Marcus's blood turned to ice. It was Jake, his father's head of security. Jake was a huge man, with muscles like a bodybuilder and eyes like a shark. Marcus had always been afraid of him, even when Jake was supposed to be protecting him. "Find them," came another voice. Marcus recognized it instantly. It was his father, Mr. Chen, and he sounded angrier than Marcus had ever heard him. "And when you do," Mr. Chen continued, "bring my son home. As for the girl, make sure she understands that helping my son was a very bad mistake." Emma went pale when she heard the threat in Mr. Chen's voice. Marcus felt rage building in his chest. His father was threatening an innocent woman just because she had helped Marcus escape a forced marriage. "We have to move," Marcus whispered. Now, they crept deeper into the alley, looking for another way out. At the far end, they found a rusty fire escape ladder leading up to the roof of one of the buildings. "Can you climb?" Marcus asked quietly. Emma nodded, even though she was scared of heights. "I'll do whatever it takes." They climbed the ladder as quietly as they could, trying not to let the old metal creak. Just as they reached the roof, Marcus heard Jake's voice getting closer. "Check that alley again. They couldn't have just vanished." Marcus and Emma lay flat on the roof, hardly daring to breathe. Below them, they could hear boots walking around the alley, searching every corner and shadow. After what felt like hours but was probably only 10 minutes, the sounds faded away. Marcus carefully looked over the edge of the roof. The alley was empty. "I think they're gone," he whispered. Emma sat up, her hands shaking. "Marcus, what your father said about me, do you think he would really hurt me?" Marcus's jaw tightened with anger. "Not if I can help it. I won't let anyone hurt you, Emma. I promise." Emma looked at his determined face and felt something warm spread through her chest. No one had ever promised to protect her before. In the foster homes where she grew up, she had always been on her own. "So what do we do now?" she asked. "We can't stay on this roof forever." Marcus thought hard. They needed money, transportation, and a place to hide. But his father controlled or could track almost everything Marcus owned. Then Marcus remembered something. "I have an idea. It's risky, but it might work." "What is it?" "There's someone who might help us. But we have to get across town without being seen. And we have to hope she's willing to go against my father." Emma didn't ask who she was. She had learned to trust Marcus's judgment, even though she had only known him for one day. They climbed down the fire escape on the other side of the building, which led to a different street. Marcus pulled out his phone to call for a taxi, then stopped. "They might be tracking my phone," he realized. Emma pulled a few crumpled dollar bills from her pocket. "I have enough for bus fare," she offered. Marcus looked at the small amount of money, probably everything Emma owned in the world, and felt his heart break a little. She was offering to spend her last dollars to help him escape his problems. "Emma, no, I can't take your money." "Marcus, we're married now, remember?" Emma said with a small smile that was both brave and scared. "Married people share everything, right?" They caught a city bus that took them across town to an area Marcus had never visited before. The buildings were older here, and the streets were narrower. This wasn't where rich people lived. "Are you sure about this?" Emma asked as they walked down a quiet residential street. "No," Marcus admitted. "But she's the only person I can think of who might help us." They stopped in front of a small, neat house with a garden full of flowers. Marcus knocked on the door nervously. "How?" The door opened to reveal a woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and graying hair. When she saw Marcus, her face lit up with surprise and joy. "Marcus, what are you doing here?" She hugged him tightly, then noticed Emma standing behind him. "And who is this lovely young woman?" "Hi, Maria," Marcus said, hugging her back. "This is Emma. She's my wife." Maria's eyes went wide with shock. "Your wife? But Marcus? Aren't you supposed to marry that Blackwood girl on Saturday?" Marcus and Emma quickly explained everything that had happened. Maria listened with growing concern. occasionally shaking her head or making worried sounds. Maria Santos had been Marcus's nanny when he was little. She was the only person in his childhood who had shown him real love and kindness. When Marcus turned 12, his father had decided he was too old for a nanny and had fired Maria. Marcus had been heartbroken, but his father wouldn't let him stay in touch with her. "So you see, Maria," Marcus finished, "we need help. My father is looking for us, and I don't know where else to go." Maria looked at Emma with gentle eyes. "You poor dear. You've been through so much, and now you're caught up in this family drama." Emma liked Maria immediately. There was something about her that reminded Emma of the few kind foster parents she had known. "I chose to help Marcus," Emma said quietly. "I knew it might be dangerous." Maria smiled approvingly. "You're very brave and very kind." She turned to Marcus. "Your father called me 2 hours ago." Marcus's heart sank. "He did?" "Yes." He was furious. "He wanted to know if I had seen you or heard from you." I told him no, which was true at the time. Maria's expression became serious. "Marcus, he's not just angry, he's scared. This marriage to Victoria was about more than business. His company is in financial trouble. He needs the Blackwood money to save it." Marcus stared at her in shock. "Financial trouble? But the company has always been successful." Maria shook her head sadly. "Your father made some very bad investments last year. He lost millions of dollars. If he doesn't get the money from this marriage alliance, he might lose everything." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "That means he'll do anything to stop our marriage and force Marcus to marry Victoria." "Exactly," Maria said grimly, "which means you're both in more danger than you realized." Marcus felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. Not only had he ruined his father's business plans, but he had also put Emma in danger. "Maria, will you help us?" Marcus asked desperately. "I know it's asking a lot, and I know my father might be angry with you if he finds out." Maria looked at Marcus, the little boy she had raised and loved, and then at Emma, the brave young woman who had risked everything to help him. Her decision was easy. "Of course I'll help you," she said firmly. "You can stay here tonight, but tomorrow you need to leave the city. Your father will eventually think to look for you here." That evening, Maria made them a simple dinner of rice, beans, and vegetables. For Emma, who hadn't had a home-cooked meal in 2 years, it was the most delicious food she had ever tasted. As they ate, Maria told them stories about Marcus when he was little. She talked about how kind and curious he had been as a child, before the pressure of being rich and important had changed him. "You were such a sweet little boy," Maria said to Marcus. "You used to give away your toys to children who didn't have any. Your father hated that." Emma looked at Marcus with new understanding. The man who had married her to escape his problems had once been a generous child who cared about others. After dinner, Maria showed Emma to a small guest bedroom. "This was Marcus's room when he stayed with me during the summers," she explained. "I hope you'll be comfortable here." Emma looked around the simple, clean room and felt tears in her eyes. She had a real bed with clean sheets, a warm blanket, and a roof over her head. For the first time in 2 years, she felt completely safe. "Maria," Emma said softly, "thank you. You don't even know me, but you're being so kind." Maria smiled and patted Emma's hand. "Marcus's wife is family to me. And besides, I can see that you have a good heart." That's what matters most. Later that night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat by the window in the living room, looking out at the quiet street and thinking about everything that had happened. Emma came out of her room wearing an old nightgown that Maria had given her. She couldn't sleep either. "Can't rest?" she asked, sitting down next to him on the couch. "Too much to think about," Marcus admitted. "Emma, I'm so sorry I got you into this mess. When I asked you to marry me, I thought it would just be a simple way to escape the arranged marriage. I didn't know my father would react so strongly." Emma was quiet for a moment, looking out the window at the stars. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Of course," When you saw me on the street this morning, what made you think I would help you? Most people don't even see homeless people as real humans. What made you different? Marcus thought about her question. I watched you with that little girl, Sophie. The way you tried to give back the food she offered you, even though you were hungry. I realized you were the kind of person who puts others before yourself. That's the opposite of everyone in my world. Emma felt her cheeks warm with the compliment. I'm not special, Marcus. I just know what it's like to have nothing. When someone shows you kindness, you want to show kindness back. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, both lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Emma spoke again. What happens tomorrow? Where will we go? Marcus had been thinking about the same question all evening. Maria's right. We need to leave the city, but we also need to be smart about it. My father will be watching airports, train stations, and bus stations. What about a car? Emma suggested. Could we drive somewhere? Marcus shook his head. I don't have access to cash to buy a car, and if I use my credit cards, my father will track us immediately. Emma was quiet for a moment, then suddenly sat up straighter. What if we didn't buy a car? What if we borrowed one? Borrowed from who? Emma looked at him with a mischievous smile. Marcus, do you know how to steal a car? Marcus's eyes went wide. Emma, we can't steal a car. That's illegal. So is threatening innocent people, Emma pointed out. And I'm not talking about really stealing. I'm talking about borrowing a car from someone who can afford to lose it for a few days. Marcus stared at her in amazement. Sweet, kind Emma was suggesting they become car thieves. Have you ever stolen a car before? He asked, not sure he wanted to know the answer. Emma's cheeks turned red. When you're living on the streets, sometimes you have to do things you're not proud of just to survive. I never hurt anyone, and I never took anything from people who couldn't afford to lose it. But I learned some skills. Marcus realized that Emma had lived a much harder life than he had imagined. She had been forced to make difficult choices just to stay alive. I don't want you to have to do illegal things because of me, Marcus said. Emma reached over and took his hand. Marcus, your father is hunting us like animals. He threatened to hurt me. We're already in trouble. Sometimes you have to break small rules to avoid bigger dangers. Before Marcus could respond, they heard the sound of car doors slamming outside. Then came the sound of heavy boots walking up to the front door. Marcus and Emma looked at each other in terror. Somehow, his father had found them. Someone was pounding on Maria's front door hard enough to shake the whole house. Marcus! His father's voice roared from outside. I know you're in there! Come out now, or I'll break down this door! Emma grabbed Marcus's arm. What do we do? Marcus's mind raced. They were trapped. The front door was blocked by his father and his security team. The backyard was surrounded by a tall fence. They were on the second floor with no easy way to climb down. But then Marcus remembered something from his childhood visits to Maria's house. Follow me, he whispered urgently, and be very, very quiet. The pounding on the door got louder and more violent. They could hear Maria's voice, trying to tell Mr. Chen that she hadn't seen Marcus. Don't lie to me, Maria, Mr. Chen shouted. I know he's here. Jake, check the back of the house. Marcus led Emma to a small closet in the hallway. He pushed aside some old coats and revealed a hidden door that led to a narrow staircase. Secret passage? Emma whispered in amazement. The house is over 100 years old, Marcus explained quietly. This used to be part of the Underground Railroad that helped enslaved people escape to freedom. Maria showed it to me when I was a kid. They crept down the narrow stairs in complete darkness. Behind them, they could hear shouting and the sound of doors being slammed open as the security team searched the house. The secret passage led to a tunnel that came out in the basement of the house next door. The neighbors were an elderly couple who went to bed early and were probably fast asleep. Marcus and Emma emerged from the tunnel into the dark basement. Above them, they could hear Mr. Chen's angry voice getting farther away as he searched Maria's house. We need to keep moving, Marcus whispered. When he doesn't find us at Maria's, he'll start searching the whole neighborhood. They crept up the basement stairs and out through the elderly couple's back door. The night air was cold, and Emma shivered in her thin nightgown and borrowed coat. As they ran through the backyards of the quiet neighborhood, Emma suddenly stopped. "Marcus, wait. We can't stop. They'll find us." "Look," Emma said, pointing to a house 3 doors down from Maria's. In the driveway sat a shiny red sports car with the keys still hanging from the ignition. The owner had apparently forgotten to take them inside. "Emma." "No," Marcus said, reading her thoughts. "We can't." "Marcus." "Yes," Emma said firmly. "It's this or get caught by your father. And I heard what he said he would do to me." Marcus looked back toward Maria's house, where he could see flashlights moving around in the darkness. His father's men were starting to spread out, searching the neighborhood. Emma was already walking toward the sports car. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the sleeping house. "I'll return it as soon as I can." Marcus followed her reluctantly. As Emma started the car with skills that impressed and worried him, Marcus realized that their simple plan had become something much more complicated. They were now married fugitives, running from a powerful man who would stop at nothing to get his son back. They were about to become car thieves. And somewhere in the middle of all this chaos, Marcus was starting to realize that his feelings for Emma were becoming much more than gratitude. As they drove away from Maria's neighborhood, Emma looked in the rearview mirror and saw headlights following them. "Marcus," she said, her voice tight with fear, "I think we're being followed." Marcus turned around and saw the black car with tinted windows that had been hunting them all day. "They found us," he said. "How did they find us so fast?" Emma pressed harder on the gas pedal. "I don't know, but we're about to find out how good this car really island." The high-speed chase that followed would test both their courage and their trust in each other. But as they raced through the dark city streets, neither Marcus nor Emma realized that the biggest test of their unusual marriage was still to come. Emma's hands gripped the steering wheel as the red sports car flew through the empty city streets. In the rearview mirror, she could see the black car getting closer and closer, its headlights cutting through the darkness like angry eyes. "They're gaining on us," Marcus shouted over the roar of the engine. Emma's heart was pounding, but her voice stayed calm. "Hold on tight. I learned to drive in some very bad neighborhoods." She suddenly spun the steering wheel hard to the right, sending their car sliding around a corner so fast that Marcus thought they might flip over. Behind them, the black car tried to make the same turn but was going too fast. It crashed into a row of garbage cans with a loud crash. "Yes!" Marcus cheered. "You did it!" But their celebration was too early. 2 more black cars appeared from different streets, boxing them in like hunters surrounding their prey. Emma's mind raced as fast as the car engine. They were heading toward the edge of the city, where the roads led up into the mountains. If they could get there, maybe they could lose their pursuers in the winding mountain roads. "Emma," Marcus said, noticing where they were going. "Those mountain roads are dangerous at night. People die up there when they drive too fast." Emma looked at him with determined eyes. "Do you trust me?" Marcus thought about everything that had happened in the past day. This homeless girl had agreed to marry a stranger to help him escape a terrible situation. She had been threatened by his powerful father, but hadn't run away. She had kept them safe with her street smarts and her courage. "Yes," Marcus said firmly. "I trust you completely." Emma smiled. And for a moment, Marcus forgot they were running for their lives. Her smile was like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. The car shot up the mountain road like a rocket. The black cars followed, but they weren't as good at driving on the twisting, turning roads. Emma had learned to drive by stealing cars to sleep in during cold nights, and she knew how to handle a car in dangerous situations. As they climbed higher into the mountains, something unexpected happened. Snow began to fall. "Oh no," Emma said, watching the white flakes hit the windshield. "This is going to make driving much more dangerous." The road became slippery and hard to see. Emma had to slow down, which meant the black cars were catching up again. But the snow was making it hard for everyone to drive safely. Suddenly, Emma saw something that made her heart skip with hope. There was a small dirt road leading off the main highway, almost hidden by trees and rocks. "Marcus," I'm gonna try something crazy, she said. If it doesn't work, we might end up stuck in the woods with no way out. Do it, Marcus said without hesitation. I believe in you. Emma turned the car onto the dirt road so suddenly that their pursuers almost missed it. The black cars tried to follow, but the road was too narrow for their big vehicles. They got stuck between two large trees, their engines making angry grinding noises. Emma and Marcus drove deeper into the forest until they found a small clearing where they could hide the car behind some bushes. They sat in the darkness, breathing hard and listening for the sound of their enemies. After what felt like hours, Emma finally turned off the engine. I think we lost them, she whispered. Marcus looked at her in amazement. Emma, you saved us. You were incredible. Emma turned to look at him, and suddenly they both realized how close they were sitting. In the excitement and fear of the chase, they had been holding hands without even thinking about it. Marcus, Emma said softly, I need to tell you something. What is it? Emma took a deep breath. When I agreed to marry you this morning, I thought it was just about helping you escape from your family. But now, I don't know what I'm feeling. Marcus felt his heart start beating faster, but not from fear this time. What do you mean? I mean that somewhere between running from your father and hiding in secret tunnels and stealing cars together, I started to. Emma stopped, too scared to finish the sentence. You started to what? Marcus asked gently. Emma looked into his kind eyes and decided to be brave. I started to care about you, not just because you're helping me have a better life, but because of who you are. You're nothing like the rich people I've met before. You're kind and good, and you treat me like I matter. Marcus felt his whole world shift. Emma, I started caring about you the moment I saw you try to give food back to that little girl, but I was afraid you were just helping me, because I promised to take care of you. Emma shook her head. At first, maybe that was part of it. But Marcus, when your father threatened to hurt me, and you promised to protect me, I saw something in your eyes. You weren't just being polite, you really meant it. They sat in the dark car, snow falling gently on the windshield, and looked at each other like they were seeing each other for the first time. So what does this mean? Marcus asked. Are we still just pretending to be married? Or, I don't know. Emma admitted. This is all so new and scary. I've never had anyone care about me the way you do. I don't know how real marriages are supposed to work. Marcus reached over and gently touched her face. I don't think there's a rule book for marriages that start the way ours did. But Emma, I know that what I'm feeling for you is real. It's the most real thing I've ever felt in my life. Before Emma could respond, they heard the sound of car engines in the distance. Their pursuers had found a way around the narrow road, and were still looking for them. We need to keep moving, Marcus said reluctantly. Emma started the car again, and they drove deeper into the forest. After about an hour, they found a small mountain cabin that looked empty and abandoned. Should we stop here? Emma asked. Marcus looked at the dark windows and snow-covered roof. It looks like no one's been here in months. We might be safe for the night. They parked the car behind the cabin where it couldn't be seen from the road. The front door was locked, but Emma used her street skills to get them inside. The cabin was cold and dusty, but it had a fireplace and some old furniture. Marcus found some wood and got a fire started, while Emma looked for anything they could use. As the fire began to warm the small room, they sat together on an old couch and finally had a chance to really talk. Marcus, Emma said, what happens now? We can't run forever. Your father will keep hunting us until he finds us. Marcus stared into the fire, thinking hard. You're right. Running isn't a permanent solution, but I don't know how to make him stop. Emma was quiet for a moment, then suddenly sat up straighter. What if we didn't try to hide from him? What if we faced him directly? What do you mean? Emma's eyes were bright with a new idea. Your father wants you to marry Victoria to get money for his business, right? What if we found a way to solve his money problems without you having to marry someone you hate? Marcus looked at her with amazement. Emma, you're brilliant. But how could we possibly solve his business problems? We don't have millions of dollars. Emma smiled mysteriously. Maybe we don't need millions of dollars. Maybe we just need to be smarter than him. She pulled out her phone and started searching for information. Marcus, tell me everything you know about your father's business and about the Blackwood family. Marcus spent the next hour explaining his father's company, their recent financial troubles, and the marriage arrangement with Victoria's family. As he talked, Emma took notes and asked smart questions that surprised him. I think I have an idea, Emma said finally. But it's going to require us to take a huge risk. What kind of risk? Emma looked at him seriously. We're going to have to go back to the city and confront your father directly. But this time, we're going to have something he needs more than the Blackwood money. What could we possibly have that he needs? Emma smiled. Information. She showed Marcus what she had found on her phone. She had been researching the Blackwood family business and had discovered something very interesting. Marcus, look at this, she said, pointing to an article on her phone screen. The Blackwood company is also in financial trouble. They need your family's money just as much as your father needs theirs. That's why they're pushing so hard for this marriage. Marcus read the article with growing excitement. So both families are desperate. Exactly. And desperate people make bad decisions. What if we could find a way for both companies to solve their problems without forcing you into a loveless marriage? Marcus stared at Emma in wonder. She had been homeless just yesterday, but she was thinking like a business genius. How did you learn to think like this? He asked. Emma's cheeks turned pink. When you're living on the streets, you have to be good at reading people and figuring out what they really want. I've watched a lot of rich people make deals. They all think they're so smart, but most of the time, they're just scared and greedy. Marcus felt something click into place in his heart. This wasn't just attraction or gratitude anymore. He was falling in love with Emma's intelligence, her courage, her kindness, and her strength. Emma, he said softly, I think I'm falling in love with you. Emma's eyes went wide. Really? Even though I'm just a homeless girl with no money or family or education? Marcus took her hands in his. You're not just anything, Emma. You're the smartest, bravest, kindest person I've ever met. You're everything I never knew I was looking for. Emma felt tears of happiness start to form in her eyes. I think I'm falling in love with you too, Marcus. But are you sure? When this is all over and you're back to your normal rich life, will you still feel the same way about me? Emma, you are my normal life now. I don't want to go back to the way things were. I want to build a new life with you. They leaned toward each other and shared their first real kiss, soft and sweet in the firelight. It was nothing like the quick, nervous kiss they had shared at their wedding ceremony. This kiss was full of real love and hope for the future. But their romantic moment was interrupted by the sound of car doors slamming outside the cabin. Marcus and Emma jumped apart and looked toward the window. Through the curtains, they could see flashlights moving around outside. They found us, Marcus whispered. Emma grabbed his hand. It's okay. We have a plan now. And we have each other. The front door of the cabin burst open, and Mr. Chen walked in with 3 security guards behind him. He was wet from the snow and angrier than Marcus had ever seen him. Enough, Mr. Chen shouted. This ridiculous game ends now, Marcus. Marcus stood up and put his arm around Emma protectively. It's not a game, Dad. Emma is my wife, and I love her. Mr. Chen's face turned red with rage. Love? You don't know anything about love. You've known this street person for 1 day. Don't talk about Emma like that, Marcus said firmly. She's worth 10 of Victoria. Mr. Chen turned his cold eyes toward Emma. You, he said in a dangerous voice. This is all your fault. You've ruined everything with your greed. Emma surprised everyone by stepping forward calmly. Mr. Chen, I think you're wrong about a lot of things, and I think I can prove it. Mr. Chen laughed nastily. You think you can outsmart me? I've been in business longer than you've been alive. Emma pulled out her phone and showed him the article about the Blackwood family's financial troubles. Did you know that Victoria's family is just as desperate for money as you are? Mr. Chen's expression changed from anger to confusion. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that both families are trying to use this marriage to solve money problems. But there's a better solution that doesn't require anyone to marry someone they don't love. Emma spent the next 10 minutes explaining her research and her plan. As she talked, Mr. Chen's expression slowly changed from anger to surprise to grudging respect. Marcus watched in amazement as Emma presented her ideas with the confidence of someone who had been in business for years. She talked about partnerships instead of marriages, about combining the company's strengths instead of just their money, about long-term success instead of short-term fixes. You see, Mr. Chen, Emma concluded, if you approach the Blackwoods as equals with a smart business plan, instead of desperate people begging for help through marriage, you'll have a much stronger position. Mr. Chen was quiet for a long moment, thinking about what Emma had said. Finally, he looked at Marcus with a strange expression. Your wife, he said slowly, is very smart. I know, Marcus said proudly. She's amazing. Mr. Chen turned back to Emma. Young lady, if I follow your plan and it works, what do you want in return? Emma looked at Marcus, then back at Mr. Chen. I want you to accept that Marcus and I are really married and that we love each other. I want you to give us a chance to prove that our marriage can work. Mr. Chen studied both of them carefully. He could see the way his son looked at Emma and the way she looked back at him. It was the same way he had looked at Marcus's mother when they were young, before business and money had complicated everything. And if the plan doesn't work? Mr. Chen asked. Emma lifted her chin bravely. Then Marcus and I will face the consequences together. But Mr. Chen, I believe this plan will work, and I believe that Marcus will be much happier with someone who loves him for who he is, not for what he can give her family's business. Mr. Chen was quiet for what felt like forever. Then, slowly, he nodded. All right, he said. We'll try your plan. But Marcus, if this fails, you'll have to deal with the consequences. Marcus squeezed Emma's hand. We will, Dad. Together. 3 days later, Marcus and Emma sat in the conference room where this whole adventure had started. But this time, things were very different. Mr. Chen and Mr. Blackwood were signing a business partnership agreement that would save both their companies without requiring Marcus to marry Victoria. Emma's plan had worked perfectly. Victoria, who had never really wanted to marry Marcus anyway, was sitting across the room looking relieved and happy. It turned out she had a secret boyfriend that her father hadn't known about. I have to admit, Victoria said to Emma, I'm impressed. I never would have thought of a solution like this. Emma smiled kindly. Sometimes it takes someone from outside a situation to see solutions that people inside it can't see. As the business meeting ended, Mr. Chen approached Marcus and Emma. Emma, he said formally, I owe you an apology. I was wrong about you. You saved both our companies, and you made my son happier than I've seen him in years. Emma shook his hand with dignity. Thank you, Mr. Chen. I'm glad I could help. Mr. Chen turned to Marcus. Son, I'm sorry I tried to control your life. I thought I was protecting you, but I was actually hurting you. Marcus hugged his father. I forgive you, Dad. But from now on, Emma and I make our own decisions about our lives. Agreed, Mr. Chen said. Then he smiled. Besides, I think I need Emma on my business team. She's got a brilliant mind for strategy. Emma's eyes lit up with excitement. She had always dreamed of having a real job where she could use her intelligence and skills. 6 months later, Marcus and Emma were having their second wedding, this time a real celebration, with friends and family who loved and supported them. Emma wore a beautiful white dress that made her look like a princess. But more importantly, she wore a smile that came from being truly happy and loved. Marcus wore his best suit, but he couldn't stop looking at his wife with wonder and joy. The homeless girl he had asked to marry him to escape an arranged marriage had become the love of his life and his partner in everything. As they danced at their reception, Emma looked up at Marcus with sparkling eyes. Do you ever regret asking a homeless stranger to marry you? She asked teasingly. Marcus spun her around and pulled her close. Never, he said firmly. It was the best decision I ever made. I thought I was escaping from something terrible, but actually, I was running towards something wonderful. Emma laughed, a sound like music that made everyone around them smile. I love you, Marcus Chen. I love you too, Emma Chen. Forever and always. As they kissed, surrounded by family and friends, who had once been strangers, both Marcus and Emma knew that sometimes the craziest plans lead to the most beautiful endings. Marcus had married a homeless girl to escape an arranged marriage. But in doing so, he had found something he didn't even know he was looking for. True love, real partnership, and a life filled with purpose and joy. And Emma had agreed to help a desperate stranger, thinking she was just finding a way off the streets. Instead, she had found a home, a family, a career, and a love that would last forever. Their love story had begun with desperation and danger, but it ended with hope, happiness, and the promise of a lifetime of adventures together. Sometimes, the most beautiful love stories start in the most unexpected ways.